do it. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm trying to ride the cues and everything. Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love, sitting next to the General Attorney Greg Jackson.
Once again, it's on. Hey, you know how we get this thing started every week, man. How's this weekend for you?
Man, this weekend was fine. It was perfect, Greg. Hey, every day above ground is a great day, brother.
Yes, it is, man. Yes, it is, man. But you know, this weekend was especially special because I don't know if folks know, but the Olympics started on the 26th of July, and Thursday started track and field.
I know you be on that track and field stuff.
Yeah,
and so, Greg, let me ask you this, man. And we're going to dive in. Wait, hold up. You're not going to tell the Let's Talk Nation audience who they listening to?
Listen, man, of course, I got to let them know that they are now tuned in to two of the most influential voices in Central Florida on a Monday night podcast. Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo guaranteed to raise your IQs 10 to 15 points. And on some nights, Brother Love, we raise it 25. If you want to be a part of the night show, all you got to do is hit us up. All they got to do is do these little Twitter fingers, man. All they got to do is do this. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram Live. Wherever you can find us. Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo. Brother Love, let's get it on.
All right. Well, brother, go ahead and tell me about the Olympics, man. What took place?
Oh, man. So, so the U.S. right now is up on the medal count in terms of total overall medals. But in terms of gold medals, China is leading right now. But there's some controversy on that because China actually put some swimmers in the pool that in 2021 for the 2020 Olympics, because they did it a year late, were actually flagged for some doping charges or something like that. And so China has won a gold medal in an individual race as well as the men's relay. And so China has a total of, China has 21 gold medals. The U.S. has 20 gold medals right now. But right now, with track and field starting, Brother Love, all of that's going to change.
All that's going to
the
the
U.S.,
United States?
The U.S., not all of it now, a lot of it.
A lot of it,
because
okay.
we saw on Saturday that one gold medal that we thought was going to come back to American Sha'Carri Richardson actually went to the small island of St. Lucia. Congratulations to St. Lucia for their runner, Julian, women's 100-meter Olympic champion.
Was it close? Let me ask you.
No, not that race. Not that race. That race was not close. She was clearly the winner in that race. But she's been running good all year long. I believe she runs for the University of Texas here in the U.S., trains in Texas, but she runs for her home country. And she represented Lovely and did an outstanding job.
So let me ask you, because Sha'Carri Richardson has been on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And so who was the fan favorite? Because you're telling me she just didn't come out of anywhere. People had her on the radar screen.
I mean, listen, if they were watching the rounds, Julian Alford ran the better round, and she has run the better rounds. But Sha'Carri Richards, because of her story, what she's been through, the last Olympics she was supposed to go to, but remember she got caught with the weed in her system and stuff like that. And so this year people have been watching her. She's done a good job of rebranding herself, and she actually ran one of the fastest times in the U.S. behind Julian Alford.
Okay.
So Julian has been on fire, and so Sha'Carri came in second. She got the silver. Melissa Jefferson, another American, won the bronze. So Americans in the women's 100 meter got second and third.
Greg, are we anywhere close to the days of the Carl Lewis and them boys?
Listen, yes we are. This year, and I want everybody to watch it because this year the U.S. is projected to win the gold after more than 20 years of not winning the gold medal in the men's 100 4x1 relay. And not only that, we also have an American who is poised to potentially win 4 gold medals in this Olympics. Haven't been done since Carl Lewis back in '88, I believe it was. And the American that is slated to do that is none other than the world's fastest man, Noah Lyles.
Oh, wow.
So the events that Noah Lyles has the potential to win gold in, he's already won the gold in the men's 100-meter dash, which was probably one of the greatest 100-meter races I've ever seen.
I've seen pictures of these guys.
One of the greatest I've ever seen, and I've been watching the Olympics for a lot of years.
Where's Noah Lyles out of?
You know what? I don't remember exactly where he's from. I can tell you where Arian Knighton is from.
Well, hold up. Noah Lyles is this youngin.
No. Well, Noah Lyles is not as young as Aaron Knight.
Oh,
Not
okay,
Aaron Knight is,
okay,
because
okay,
Aaron Knight
okay.
is from St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
So yeah, and Aaron Knight is 20 years old. A young track phenom, also runs the 200. One of Noah Lyles' biggest competitors in the 200 meter, aside from Kenny Bernard, who ran in the 100 meters as well. But Noah Lyles had the opportunity to win not just the 100, which he just won. He had the opportunity to win the 200 and double for the first time in a long time for American men. He also had the opportunity to win the gold in the men's 4x1.
Wow.
4x1
Yeah.
and the men's 4x4. Because he also runs, believe it or not,
Are you
the
serious?
400. Yeah, the last time he ran the 400 was last year. I think he ran a 45, 45, somewhere around there.
See, Greg, when I ran track, it was the 100 meters. And when you were talking about football, college football, you're talking about the 40-yard dash. Those are races, you get in it and you get it and quit it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
when you say 4x100, Greg, they're going, that's a quarter. Is that a quarter? Wait, no.
It's quarter mile. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a quarter mile.
4x1. 4x1 is one time around the track. 4x4 is a mile around the track.
And he got that in him?
Yeah.
See,
Noah Lyles is a real athlete, man. Noah Lyles is a real athlete. Now, the last time it was done, I want to say Carl Lewis won the 100, 200, the relay, the 4x1 relay, and the long jump.
wow.
And that was, I want to say it was,
So when is this? When
must
was
have
it?
been in 84. It had to have been in 84.
But man, when them boys was running, it was like, were they getting some stuff on loan from the $6 million man? Because you didn't think them guys had any heart, man. Them guys were running great. That was thoroughbred running right there.
Now, which one are you talking about? Back in the day, or these guys now?
But I'm talking about when Carl Lewis and them used to run, man. Winning doggone impressive.
Well, now listen now. The world records, aside from actually, I was about to say the world record because Michael Johnson held the world record for the 200 and the 400. But the 400 was taken down by Wade Van Niekerk, a South African runner, and then the 200 was taken down by Usain Bolt. And so, the legends have actually come in this generation.
Wow.
This generation. So yeah, man. Yeah. So, but listen, man, as you can tell, track and field is one of my favorites.
I see.
The U.S. did an outstanding job in the pool. They won the mixed melee, which is men and women during the races. The women won the gold in the relay in the pool. The men came in second. They got the silver behind China, and behind them was Australia. They've been doing an outstanding job as well, in other areas of the track. Track and field, you have Ryan Krauser, who is the gold medal winner. You have his, the other American who came in second. So, Americans are lighting it up. As I was saying, if we're going by total medal count right now, the U.S. has 78 medals in all, Brother Love. 78 medals. 20 gold, 30 silver, 28 bronze. And that's going to change throughout the week because, like I said, we got the field events going on. China, which is the next closest, has 53 medals.
That's a big gap.
It's a huge gap. Listen, that's the U.S. though.
Yeah.
They have 53 medals, 21 gold, 18 silver, 14 bronze. France, which is a host country, has 46 medals total. 12 gold, 16 silver, 18 bronze, and then Great Britain has 42 medals overall, 12 gold, 13 silver, 17 bronze.
You know what? I haven't followed the Olympics like I should, but I'm surprised you didn't mention one name that's not a spring chicken, but the way she's been performing is gold all the way, and she got her gold.
Are you talking about Smoke?
Yes.
Smoke, yeah, listen, man, she won the overall gold. The U.S. won the team competition. She actually got the silver in an individual event. She is one of the most, if not the most decorated female gymnasts that's out there. Kaylee Ledecky, if we're talking about the most decorated, Kaylee Ledecky, who is
Swimmer, right?
Is a swimmer.
Yeah.
The 1,500 meter specialist. She is one of the, if not the most decorated Olympian now. Because remember the other one was Michael Phelps.
That's right. That's right.
So you have another swimmer, which is apropos.
But great, help me with this. When you talk about famous gymnasts,
yeah.
Normally the age, because how old is Simone Biles?
26, 27?
Yeah, but who was Mary? What is it? Mary Lou
Retton.
Lou Retton.
Yeah, now you're going way back.
I'm going way back.
Yeah, you're going way back. But you're skipping over Gabby Douglas.
Yeah, I'm just going with what I know. We don't speak theory. I'm just going with what I know.
Yeah.
You're the expert.
Yeah, listen, man. But nah, listen, I could talk, Olympics and sports all day, Brother Love, but that would bore Let's Talk Nation, because Let's Talk Nation is way too smart to just sit in front of a TV all day, just watching the Olympics and watching sports. Let's Talk Nation wants to be in the know and wants to know what's going on, Brother Love.
Yeah. Hey, we got something going on tonight, and great. I don't steal the thunder when it comes to making intro. We're gonna do a commercial before we go there, but man, what we have going on in the LTN studio tonight.
Yeah, listen. So we want you all to stay close to your receivers, to your dials, because we have a very special guest that's coming in. Someone who is running for public office. Like you said, we want to keep our Let's Talk Nation listeners and viewers informed about what's going on. But we have someone here tonight that we think is going to bring some real interest to what's taking place in Central Florida politics. Coming up next.
So we're gonna go to a commercial, and you know what? Greg, I love the way you do those cliffhangers.
So wait a minute, hold on. When I say coming up next, you're supposed to go to break.
Hey, that's why I was filling in. That's why I was filling in.
Hey, coming up next.
They break, I fix. Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, Jaguars and Porsche. Joe's Quality Auto Repair. I specialize in European cars. They break, I fix at Joe's European Quality Auto Repair. Located at 1240 State Road 436 in Altamont Springs. They break, I fix. Call me, mention Let's Talk Nation and bring your certified dealership repair quote. And I beat by 30%. Remember, they break, I fix. Call me at Joe's European Quality Auto Repair at 407-409-6040. Again, 407-409-6040. After they break, I fix. Joe's European Quality Auto Repair.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Nation, and as Greg and I was telling you earlier, we have special guests in the LTN Network studios for you this evening, and nobody does introductions like my man, the General Attorney Greg Jackson, so I'm going to pass the baton.
No, listen, Brother Love, you give me way too much credit on these things, but it is an honor and a privilege tonight to have in the studio with us, you know, someone that we've been knowing for a long, long time. We've been watching. He has been in the Florida House, has been in the Florida Senate, has done a great job in the Central Florida community, is what I consider to be part of the Central Florida royalty family, Brother Love, when we talk about the name Bracy. And so tonight, Brother Love, we have in the studio with us none other than the man, the myth, the legend, the former state representative, the former state senator, who is quite possibly going to be our next state senator, Mr. Randolph Bracy and his lovely wife. How y'all doing?
Welcome to LTN.
Hey, that was an introduction. Amazing.
Hey, no, let me just say, it's an honor and a privilege for y'all to be in the studio with us. But as Greg mentioned, you got a track record.
Yeah.
You got a track record, and we wanted to make sure that you had a platform, you had the atmosphere that you can actually talk to the folk that you've served already before. So Senator Bracy and Miss Bracy, hey, thank you, and thank y'all for not seeing it. As the Reverend King normally says, and I'm talking about not the Martin Luther King, I'm talking about my father-in-law, Richard King. Hey, we appreciate that y'all didn't think it was robbery to be with us this evening.
Absolutely.
My
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. For those who don't know you, which it would shock me to no end, but for those who don't know you, why don't you let Let's Talk Nation know who you are?
Randolph Bracy. I have been in the Central Florida community for years. I went to high school here in Dr. Phillips, and been here. People know my family, my dad, who passed away last year. Him and my mother started New Covenant Baptist Church and served this community and ministry for years. And, you know, I wanted to run for office, and I really felt a calling to do that 12 years ago. And doing that, I've had one of the most successful records of any legislator coming from Central Florida, and that's just the truth. You know, historic things, reparations, saved Bethune-Cookman University, along with Florida Memorial and Edward Waters, but I focus on Bethune. The reason why I did it is because my dad was the dean at Bethune-Cookman at the time and said, look, we are about to close our doors. We need help. And so I immediately brought the president, the board chair, hooked up some meetings, and we worked out a deal before session even started. Over $30 million per year. These are the type of things that, you know, Democrats don't usually have that type of influence in Tallahassee to just make things happen like that. I mean, the list goes on and on. I was just out waving signs with my beautiful wife here, and then Kaya Roll, some people may not remember that name, Kaya Roll and her grandmother, stopped us, pulled over, and just said, you don't know how much you've helped our lives, in passing a law called the Kaya Roll Act that made sure no 7-year-old was ever arrested again. money for a popper when Mayor Nelson called me for they needed fire station 6. I got the money for that myself and Camille Brown. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Ocoee massacre is taught statewide because of a bill I got passed.
You know what? I'm not gonna let you get too far down the road because you've done a ton of things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something for you that I know you and the general would have done for me too. And you made a reference to it, but man, can't let you go any further without introducing your beautiful wife.
Yeah. The beautiful Kieta Mayweather Bracy. I was gonna do that and told me to go into my other day. But no, I love this woman. She's been such a support to me, and we've been able to build something special. We're trying to build a business empire, but also she's helped me so much in politics, and she has such a great resume in TV and film. We produced our first film together, and so this is a dynamic woman. My right hand, left hand, everything. The beautiful Kieta Mayweather Bracy. Say something.
Well, first of all, I want to just let the audience know that I did not know I was coming in for this interview, so I haven't had them. So please excuse me today. But I first of all, I thank you so much. And Trainer Jackson, thank you too. I really want, my mother wanted me to make sure I tell you how appreciative she was of that article that you wrote about Randolph and I, just because not only was it personal for her, but it struck so many areas in her life that she just always remembered the importance of, what we're still going through today. And so I want to thank you so much for that. But I also want to say, a lot of people, and I'm not going to say a lot of people, I'm going to say some people, may have a spouse that's in politics. And believe me, I came in kicking and screaming. I said, this is not something I want to do. But I will say that I respect Randolph so much, and I don't just normally say that, like, he's a good man. I tell him that, because sometimes people display one personality in front of the camera, and then when you go home, there's somebody totally different. He's actually a better man behind closed doors than he is in what you all get to see. And I just thank you for just standing up and standing on the truth and not being afraid and having the courage. That's like a turn on to have a man
See why I love this woman right here.
So wait, let's just jump right into it.
Okay.
Let's just jump right into it. The race that you're currently in for Florida State Senate District 15, in a lot of regards, that's been called a personal race. It's been called a nasty race, and there are a lot of other adjectives that can be used for this race. And Brother Love and I, we talk a lot about politics and what's taking place. And I'm gonna tell you something personally that kind of stood out to me about this race, and y'all got to forgive me on this. I'm a dad, all right, and I have a son. A lot of people don't know this, and I don't mind sharing this right now, but my son and I, we don't speak, and it's been a while, and I'm good with it. We talk every now and again, but we haven't spoken in a while. But I'm gonna say this: if my son decided he was gonna do something, and my son decided he was gonna get into the political arena, or he was gonna run a business or something like that, and even though me and my son don't have the best relationship, if someone ever came to me and asked me to say something against my son, I would tell them they lost their mind. Now, my question is this. Let's talk politics just briefly for a second. When did politics become more important than family? Question.
Let me just say this. This whole situation with my family is a very painful situation. In light of my dad passing, someone who I looked up to, still look up to, he was someone who prided himself in the Bracy family, accomplishment. He was the driving force that, pushed me to just be successful as much as you can. That's just the kind of spirit he had. And so I know he was so proud. So to see what has transpired with my family is something that I know my dad would not have stand for if he was alive, but also something he's would be disappointed in,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I really can't answer that. What I can say is I've tried to follow God's mandate and believing that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm just following that call. And people react to it how they want. My mother has a relationship with Senator Geraldine Thompson. But one, my mother, my sister both know that her record doesn't compare to mine.
Mm-hmm.
They both know that. My dad wouldn't let him forget it because he was talking about it all the time. So then you got to look at, well, what is it really, you know? And I think it's personal, you know. I think that my wife and I have been able to do things that people never expected. I think when you exceed people's expectations, even people close to you, it can make them feel a way about you.
Let me say this though, and I wasn't joking about this when I said this. The Bracy family in this community, by all accounts, is political royalty. Your mom has been on the show, and her story, A Brave Little Cookie. We bought probably 100 copies of the book so that we can get them out into the community. It is if you don't know the LaVon Bracy story, it is an awesome story about how she single-handedly integrated a school in Central Florida, in Alachua County, Florida.
Right.
Bravery, when other kids were supposed to be with her, and she had to go and go it alone. When your sister ran for public office, she came and she sat with us, and she talked about her big brother. Matter of fact, I think she got you on the phone while she was there. And so when I say this, and I remember in 2012 when you were running, because I was running too, you were successful. Congratulations. I was not. Congratulations to me.
But you are successful.
But in a different way.
Yeah.
But so when I say that, and I remember your dad, because he actually was the one that swore in Commissioner Sipley. It's the NAACP, the Bracy family
Is
is
royalty.
royalty
Yeah.
in this area. You come from a good family. You come from a God-fearing family. And a God-fearing family that says that when a man takes a wife, they become one flesh.
Yeah.
And you cleave to that wife and you all become one.
Yeah.
But it seems as if you doing biblically what you were taught and what you believe in has kind of put a rift in this family.
Kelly, you want to?
Yeah, I would say, let me just say this. What people, I don't think, realize is that when the visionary dies, sometimes they still want to live off the dream of a dead man. You understand what I'm saying? And so the vision shouldn't die. It can be recalibrated to something different. And some people don't like change. You all read that book, Who Moved My Cheese? You know, so I tell Randolph, you know, just like the story of Joseph, when you have the jealous siblings that dug a pit for him, and he fell in the pit, you know, and that was around somewhere in chapter 30. But when it got almost about chapter 50, the same man, Joseph, was giving him bread. This is the type of man that Randolph is. It doesn't matter. Like I told Randolph, a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, your sister needs you. What have I been telling you? You got to be there for her.
You're right.
You got to do the right thing. And sometimes people, you know, don't realize the pain that he's been through that's been inflicted on him. This is why I'm telling you he's a good man. Because I know, he know, they know, Randolph hasn't done anything to them but marry me. And of course, it's a come up. I mean, you know, but honestly, I would say Mrs. Bracy did it with her husband. They cleave to each other.
Right.
So why can't Randolph do the same thing? And I've never had an issue. I didn't understand none of this. I thought everything was good. Reverend Bracy blessed our marriage. Reverend Bracy told me, said, "Kid, you have no idea how long I've prayed for my son to get a good wife." And once the Lord did that, everybody just, you know, maybe didn't like it. And it's okay.
But you know, let me say this, because Brother Jackson and I, our phones was ringing off the hook this weekend. You and your husband were making your rounds to faith, to churches. I ain't even faith. You were making your rounds to churches, and it just so happened that a couple of them pastors were preaching about what you've been going through, preaching strength for you and your family. But then I'm gonna go a little bit back further than that. When Brother Jackson and I started Let's Talk Nation almost 7 years ago, we were standing out in the parking lot of WOKB radio, and I was like, man, that show was good, but how long can we sustain this?
Yeah.
And we both said to each other, the show is about getting results. And when we felt we weren't getting results, then and obviously we are getting results. But let me say something about, you got a track record.
Yeah.
You are one of possibly a handful of Democratic legislators, and Greg and I, we have the conversation all the time. I'm not a Democrat. My brother is. I love my brother just the same, even though he might be wrong a lot of times. But you held a chairmanship
That's right.
in a Republican-held legislature, and you got the job there.
Yeah.
First time.
First time in the history of the state that an African American has held that position as the chair of the Criminal Justice Committee in the Senate. First time. There's a lot of firsts with me. And I'm proud of my record. And now you're starting to see a lot of Democratic representatives locally. They're all banding together against me. But the truth is, you look at their record, never passed a bill. You know, Senator Geraldine Thompson, with all due respect, in almost a quarter of a century, one bill passed. And so you got to think, people know the name and all of that, but when you just talk about, well, what has she really done compared to what I've done, it's no comparison. So I do have a track record. That's just the truth. That's just the truth.
So let's talk a little bit about why you got into this race, because I mean, you know, we see what y'all are doing. Y'all are doing some great stuff. You got into filmmaking, and doing some great things like that. Why at this time in your life did you decide, I want to get back into the public service?
To be honest, I wouldn't even say this was something I wanted and I saw it. This is something that I believe came to me by the Lord. And I'm just going to be honest, and people get uncomfortable when you talk about God and politics, but...
Not on this show, we don't.
Okay, because that's just the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is something that I wrestle with. I talk to my wife about it and say, you know, I don't even know if I really want to do this. Like, we've been enjoying our life. We're doing things we dreamed of. We talked about movies. I've always wanted to get my music out. I got my music all through the movies. Like, we just living, traveling, and things are going so well. And I was like, man, I know what Tallahassee is like. But God gave me this vision. And I feel like it's bigger than politics. And I've been talking about it. And the Sentinel has been talking bad about me as far as this whole movement. But honestly, I feel like we need a movement in politics, in our world. If you all can't see, I'm not saying you, just everyone can't see that our world is heading in a different direction that we need to prepare for. Financially, like, AI is taking over. There's so much has changed since, you know, the pandemic to now. Like, we need real leadership, and we need something, I think, bigger than politics. And God gave me this vision, a better me, a better you, a better us. And what that really is we can focus on ourselves and really become the best version of ourselves. It takes work, you know, spiritually, you know, developing that real relationship with God, emotionally, taking care of ourselves physically. All of these things, I believe, is something that a real leader of a community can spearhead and talk about. And not just talk, like, when you talk about legislation and bringing money home, I'm going to do that. That's, to me, that's about developing good relationships with the other party and being able to maneuver in that environment. To me, that's the easy part. But I really feel like God brought me back to start something new.
You said something just now that resonated in my spirit, and that was this being bigger than politics.
Yeah.
You know, we have issues in communities that Brother Jackson and I talk about often. You know, when we get it, people are talking about something that's sad that's taking place, but I've seen you go upstream to deal with the economics of it. And those are some of the things that I think our listening audience need to know and understand. What are some of the economic issues that you would address going back into the Senate?
Well, obviously, there's an affordable housing issue.
Mhm.
There's property insurance. My property insurance shot up $1,000. That, that's a lot of money every month.
You're right.
Mhm.
And so I'm seriously considering how are we going to tackle that. And I've put out a couple proposals. I talked about public housing. That can be a bad word when people think about public housing in the past, but there's an idea that I had where states can give money to, like grants can give money to local governments to actually have their own public housing, but something that the counties, the cities can control, but they can make sure it's done right, it's clean, they can monitor it. All of these, there's a lot of good ideas that I think we have, but the truth is, you got to have someone who can maybe bring money home to start these programs.
You're right.
That's just the issue. And so, like, I had a problem when I was talking to the media in these debates, and what is your plan? And I'm like, if you have a person who's never been able to pass a bill, how are you going to tell them to tell me about affordable housing and come up with a strategy for that? Like, let's be real. And I felt like the media. This is a side note, but I feel like media kind of lets people get away with stuff because it's like this is not even a fair conversation. Because every year people propose plans with no intention of actually implementing it. And I'm like, and you just let people talk, not even really challenging, hey, you said this last time you were here and it didn't happen. Let's talk about that. Because anyway, so my point is, and I'll continue to talk about my resume for the purpose of letting people know I have the ability to do what I'm saying I'm gonna do. And so there's a lot of economic issues that I think we can address. Housing is definitely one of them, rent. And I think that I can bring the money home to jumpstart certain programs that we can start right here to address those issues.
One of the other things too, because as you were talking about, you said as a chair over the criminal justice committee, we have a crisis in the African American community, particularly as it relates to our young African American males.
Yeah.
Some may say get caught up in the system and different things like that, and programs that help to address, some of the issues in the African American community. What are some of your thoughts on how we address this ongoing issue with our young black men, or even our young men in general in our communities?
I think education is definitely helpful, but I also think we need more opportunities. We need training for these young people so that they can develop a skill and be able to sustain themselves. I think that's really the biggest thing, how we prevent people from going in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if we can find the funding to get training, I've done a lot through Workforce Florida. I think they changed the name. What's it called?
Career Source.
Career Source or whatever. Put a lot of money there, but I don't know, to be honest, if that's the answer. If it's really getting to the people that need it. So I think that's the biggest thing we got to address is making sure they're trained.
One of the things, and I got to say this, and I love developing and articulating the plan, but I think one of the other starting points is the fact that our viewing audience, when you talk about what's taking place in communities, whether we're talking about young people or old fools, is the optics. A strong man and a strong woman. I have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And my daughters watch this, and to see a husband and wife and what you're projecting, that's a start beyond any development of a plan.
Yeah.
You were in the House.
Yeah.
You're in the Senate.
Yeah.
Brother Jackson, now we've had plenty of folk running for office come to the show, but then those individuals who don't win, we ask the same question. Greg, what's that question that we...
What's going to happen? What happens if you don't win? Are you going to come back? Are you going to continue to implement those things?
And what we see with you is you don't have to come back to serving people.
Right.
You're doing it because you're compelled. It's passion.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, I'm just loving this conversation.
Yeah.
And make sure you tell your mom, if you would, for me, thank you for those kind words. But my grandfather, Roosevelt, always told me and my siblings, there's never a substitute for doing the right thing. No matter how much we tried to make an excuse behind it, the mask whoopings, I mean,
that chastisement.
yeah, that chastisement, we understood and it grew with me, but what our audience are seeing is a start.
Yeah.
Well, I think these questions are good in talking about what is the plan for, but that whole better me, better you, better us, to me, I really think it's important that we get to the heart of people when we're talking about young people, because that's what I think is going to really make the change. We've been trying to legislate, these kind of changes that we need to see in our communities, and we can throw money at it and it can help, but I think a different approach is necessary now, and that's why I'm saying I think we have to start with people. I really do. I don't think we need to start with politics. To me, that's the easy part. The hard part is really galvanizing this community, and how are we going to work together to really address people's needs? Because if we can do that, then the government will start to reflect the people. That's really what I believe.
I also want to say something that Randolph said that I just, Randolph said, it shouldn't be about the party.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be about personal interest. It should be about the people.
That's right.
And so when you do that, I mean, like, you Republicans, Democrats, okay, but in the end of the day, don't we all want the same
Come
thing?
down to people, yeah.
Come down to people.
You're right.
And not the politics, not the personal interest, not the party.
You bring up something, and what you just brought up is critically important, no matter what party you're in, is your ability to go across the aisle to advocate for your community.
That's right. Right. Yeah.
And we've seen what you've been able to do.
Yeah. So this is a question for Mrs. Bracy. Understanding that you didn't want to get into this political arena, what has been the most challenging aspect for you in actually being out there on the campaign trail?
The disparaging of my husband. To see, I didn't realize that people can just lie. So this is new to me. People said to me, that's politics, but I didn't think people just lie. And just to see the mean things and the untrue things that they say about Randolph, it just floored me. One day I had to tell him, I was getting up and I said, Randolph, I just can't even leave the house right now. Because I was so upset to see how they just trying to persecute my husband for just answering the call of God. Because when the Lord put it on his heart, he told me. We were actually in Martha's Vineyard during the time, and he said, Kieta, I just don't want to go back. I'm just enjoying my life, and I just want to be with you, and our children. And I said, Randolph, if God gave you that mandate, you have to be obedient, because you will curse our generation and generations to come. And so you can't do that. You have to be in alignment with what the Lord has told you. And it doesn't matter what the outcome is. I'm good with it, because as long as he trusts the Lord and he honors and he obeys, I'm going to stand by him regardless. And that's what I told him. It could be no other way. And so that's been the most challenging for me, to just see the lies and just them people disparaging my husband and saying so many untrue things when I know this is a good man.
But if what we do was easy, everybody would be doing it. And there was a pastor, I'm not going to mention his name, who preached this weekend, and he told me, go online and see what I was talking about as it relates to Bracy. And he talks about how you're going to have two factions. One are those folk that want to drag you in the mud, but then you're going to have them folk that support you, that's going to pull you out every time.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that we thick-skinned for a reason.
Yeah.
And you got to rely on your record. You got to rely on them same folk who are going to stand up and be your armor bearers.
Yeah. Now, this particular election, there's no Republican in the race.
Right.
So this particular race ends on the 20th of August.
Right. So Republicans, Independents, no party affiliation, Democrats, they all can vote.
Okay. And so that was kind of my point, is that this is an open primary, so to speak, where anyone could go in and cast a vote for Senator Bracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. So how can folks find out more about the campaign and what's going on?
You can follow me. Our social media is hot. I'm telling you, it's always something happening. So we feel like we gotta address. We don't have to address everything, but just follow us.
And website.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. At Randolph Bracy. You can Instagram, Facebook, or not Twitter, but TikTok, or you can just go to our website, randolphbracy.com, and get information specifically on campaign issues, priorities. As I go back to Tallahassee.
Now, public interest thing. Now, and I don't know if it's true, but somebody heard your music.
Yeah.
And they said something about a Drake in the same sentence as your name. I didn't get my complimentary copy yet, but I'll buy it. Now, if you got it, I'll buy it. Don't worry about that. But I heard that you might have some skills.
I do have skills. I really enjoy music, and y'all check out Ponder. Ponder is a movie we have on Tubi. It has my music throughout. I was the music supervisor for the movie, and we got another project coming up. Twin Flame is our next movie, but after that, we're gonna do a movie about the Ocoee Massacre, and so that's gonna be really good. Yeah. And I've already written music to it, and I got a couple songs because it's gonna be amazing, and I really think it's gonna transform this community to see this story put out there for the world to see, and then we're going to use local actors and actresses. It's going to be a really great project for this community.
Educational, informational, and I believe it's going to be transformational. Senator and Miss Bracy, thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Network. Our doors are always open for you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We're going to take a quick break, and the General and I will be right back. But once again, we want to thank Senator and Mrs. Bracy because you brought it tonight. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
They break, I fix. Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, Jaguars and Porsche. Joe's Quality Auto Repair. I specialize in European cars. They break, I fix at Joe's European Quality Auto Repair. Located at 1240 State Road 436 in Altamont Springs. They break, I fix. Call me, mention Let's Talk Nation and bring your certified dealership repair quote. And I beat by 30%. Remember, they break, I fix. Call me at Joe's European Quality Auto Repair at 407-409-6040. Again, 407-409-6040. After they break, I fix. Joe's European Quality Auto Repair.
Some of the questions that we asked in the onset are just some questions that people have had, and I personally have had those questions about Senator Bracy, the family, and things like that. But when it came right down to it, we talked about his record. Mm-hmm. We talked about the fact that he was able to get things done while he was in the Senate, and he just wanted to talk record. He didn't want to get into the back and forth about the other things that's going on, which is understandable. And so we want to say once again we appreciate former Senator Bracy for coming and sitting down with us. And if anyone else wants to come in and sit down and talk to us, we're open. I mean, listen, we're going to ask the questions that the people want to have answers to, because that's why we're here. So,
Greg, we often talk about people having the opportunity to come and let people know what's on their mind, what direction they're looking at going. But, it also affords the listening audience to see a different vantage point of the people that could actually be represented.
Absolutely. But listen, brother, for people that want to know more about the folks that want to represent them, man, we had to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris, man. This past week, I understand that she raised another boatload of money. I want to say in sum total now she's raised about $310 million is what I think that I've heard. The big question that people are wondering is she going to be able to keep up this momentum? And what is the Trump campaign doing to address this momentum that Kamala Harris currently has? The last national poll that I heard, I want to say that they were in a statistical dead heat. Yeah. But a lot of folks are saying that this race is still Trump's race to be lost.
We're under 100 days now, right?
Under 100 days. But the big question, though, that people keep coming back to, because Trump went and sat down with the National Association of Black Journalists, I believe it is.
Which I believe he should have done. I'm glad that he did that. I'm glad that the invitation was extended, too.
And listen, I mean, Trump has never shied away from going into the lion's den, so to speak. But there's certain questions I think that he should have stayed away from, but one in particular was, one of the journalists asked him the question about, do you think that Kamala Harris was a DIE hire? And the only reason that question is being asked, Brother Love, if people really and truly get down to it, is because of Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden was the one that said that he was going to pick a running mate, and she was going to be female, she was going to be black. There was no other criteria whatsoever.
As soon as he won the nomination, that's the first thing out of the gate.
Yeah. And so, Donald Trump brought up the question. Well, not even brought the question. He addressed the question, and he said, well, listen, I really didn't know that she was black. I thought that she was Indian. And a lot of people, lost their minds when he said that. But if you go back and look at the history of Kamala Harris, when she was elected to the Senate, when she was elected to, to be state attorney general for California, it touted her Indian heritage. And one other thing, and listen, I didn't find this, but I found it interesting. And I think I sent the clip over to you and Dr. Light and Brother Armando. But some folks are even saying that her dad does not identify with black.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so what it said is that her dad considers himself to be Caucasian, meaning that he is part Irish and part Jamaican, if I remember right. No, part Irish and
it was something.
It's something else.
But he doesn't identify as being African American.
Right. Well, he doesn't identify as being black.
Yeah,
they said but they said that his family owned slaves in Jamaica. Now listen, do your own research, Love Salt Nation. This is something that was on social media. As a matter of fact, if you want to know who said it, Judge Joe Brown, who Judge Joe Brown has no issues with pulling the punches. And he was the one that said that he's met, Professor Harris, and Professor Harris has indicated that he is Caucasian, he is of Irish and something else descent, which will make it interesting because the Democratic Party is telling me, because I'm a Democrat, that we need to support Kamala Harris because she's a black woman.
And Greg, I was watching. I mean, you get your information from where you can get it from, but you need to go ahead and also do your own fact finding, if you would. So, Greg, why is this topic coming up as much as it's coming up? And some folks say, okay, this is just politics. But if you go back to when Vice President she won the United States Senate race.
Yeah.
In this video out there, I mean, she said with pride that she is proud to be the first Asian American. So, I mean, we're not putting words in anybody's mouth. Yeah. And you know what? I don't care.
Listen, be proud of who you are. Yeah. That's my whole thing. Yeah. But for, and that's the thing about Democrats, and that's the thing about African Americans. We always want to gravitate to those who want to be a part of our culture, even if they are not for our culture. Because, when you look at records, we talk about looking at records, people talk about the fact that when Kamala Harris was the Attorney General for California, the number of African-American families that she broke up by imprisoning African-American males and not having programs for to reduce the recidivism rate and different things like that, which I personally don't think that Attorney General should do anyways, but we have to look at the record of things. When you talk about what took place at the border, she was in charge of the border crises and disappeared for 2 years. These are real things that you can go back and look. But now the Democrat Party wants to tell us that that was not her role. She was not over those things. And so, listen, if we're going to do it, let's address it head on. Now, that's the type of person I am. Whether I'm in trial or wherever I am, I address the issues head on. I wouldn't say she didn't do it. I would just say something else. But to tell us who you going to believe, me or your lying eyes, is an insult.
You're right.
It's not
an
insult.
You're right. But Greg, I don't know, man. Did you happen to see? And I love the exchange of the conversation on both sides. I'm gonna tell you, I love it because it's making people think. But this past weekend, and I think I may have sent it to you. The young lady who graduated from Clark University.
Okay.
She happened to be an individual that was at one of the Trump rallies this weekend.
No, she wasn't black, was she? No, wasn't no black people at no Trump rally. Don't say it. No, say it ain't so, but love. Say it ain't so.
But you know what she started out with?
What?
She started out with a thank you for the funding that HBCUs received.
Under who though?
Underneath then President Trump.
Okay.
And so when she said that, Greg, I was thinking that is something. I mean, whether you like it or not, let's be facts.
I mean, listen. HBCUs, the presidents, the board of trustees should be more upfront about what was done. Listen, I'm the type of person, if somebody does something and it's helpful to my community, I'm going to speak out and say, listen, I appreciate it. I may not necessarily like you, but I appreciate what you did.
And Greg, let me say this too. You and I both, we affiliate with different political parties.
Right.
But here's something
Not
I
long,
think,
though. Not much longer.
but here's something that we've said time and time again, and we just put it out there.
Yeah.
I have not been a fan of President Trump. I'm just saying. But then when it comes to looking at policy issues, I have it. And when I say policy issues, because I'm not 100% of a Democratic presidential policies, nor 100% of when you look at a Republican president policies. But the ones I like are the ones that I believe are the most effective ones, in my opinion.
I mean, listen, truth be told, and I know a lot of folks aren't going to either agree or like what I'm going to say, and that's understandable. I mean, we don't come here to be liked. If we were, we'll sell ice cream. But I mean, listen, if you look at the gas prices, gas prices were not this high, 3 years ago. I mean, they just weren't. That is a fact, and they have stayed and they've hovered around, $4 since or under this administration. The border crisis, there were not millions of individuals illegally crossing into the United States, under the Trump administration. Now, I'm not going to say no one got in, but I'm going to say it was much more difficult. And remember, there were caravans of individuals coming to the United States when they found out that Joe Biden had won as president of the United States. If you look at food costs nowadays, and I know people want to look at it and say, well, he got handed a bad economy and all this other stuff, but wasn't it Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that said that if you elect us, we'll fix these issues and these problems? They haven't been fixed. They've gotten worse. And that's why I think that a lot of Democrats, I'm telling you, a lot of Democrats are going to be surprised and shocked because they keep trying to tell Democrats, especially African-American Democrats, that if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, then you're not African-American. Now, where we hear that from?
Yeah, but come on, man. But
we heard that from Joe Biden.
Yeah, but that's a doggone insult.
It is an insult. It is an insult. It's to say that we as Black folks can't think and have our own thought process about what's best for our communities or how we live. But the other thing too, though, Brother Love, and I kind of said tongue in cheek when you talked about the young lady who spoke at the Trump rally, and then I was like, go back and look at the Trump rally in Atlanta, Georgia. That crowd had more African Americans than the Democrat Party should be comfortable with. And I took a screenshot of it because I just happened to come across it and I watched a little bit of it. But there were, and I'm not talking about African Americans that look like me in suit and ties and all this other stuff. No, I'm talking about African Americans who look as if they are of the community in Atlanta, Georgia, for whatever that means. All right, so.
But Greg, I truly believe, man, that a lot of folk, and when I say a lot of folk, I'm gonna say Black folk, are looking at the conversation. They're looking at past performance. You can't. What my father-in-law often say, man, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Right.
And so you gotta be engaged in these conversations, and you can't just think, I'm gonna have my political party drive my entire thought process. No, that's not how it should be. So we gotta continue to engage, man, and have these conversations as critical as it may be. And man, you just gotta be willing to fight.
I'm gonna tell you, I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine. I don't know if I shared this last week or not, and if I did, I apologize. When I'm getting old, I don't understand that. But I had a friend of mine who he and his daughter got into a conversation about politics. So he had posted something about Kamala Harris, and it wasn't anything necessarily bad. But she sent him a message. She was like, "I'm so ashamed of you. I'm embarrassed of you, and this, that, and another." Because he said something about a political candidate.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, a person that raised you, that cared for you, that loved you and loved you to this very day, you're upset with him because he disagrees with somebody that you don't even know, that if you were to walk out there in the streets right now and didn't have nothing to put on your back or food to put in your mouth, could care less and wouldn't do anything for you. Politics, Brother Love, it's ridiculous.
You're right. I'm not going to lose my friendships. I'm not going to lose my family relationships over politics.
Yeah. Now, listen, I had to cut some people off this last election cycle because they said some things that I thought were offensive. And I was just like, listen, in order for me to maintain whatever little bit of friendship we have, we just can't have this conversation because there's no way I can see the way that you see things. There's no way you can see the way I see it. So let's just not even have this conversation because friendships, family, relationships are more important to me than some
You're right.
political party that wants to put stuff into our minds so that they can remain in power.
Well, Greg, look at where we're at right now. And I know we got about 5 minutes left, but look at where we're at right now. Remember the two girls that were often said that not a good topic to just openly discuss, and that was religion and politics.
Yeah.
But when you look at the two, man, politics to me is rising way above when people talk religion.
Yeah.
You that's an area that a lot of folks say, you know what, let's talk about sports or something else.
Yeah. But, politics, over the past half a century now has been very divisive anyways. But you would think that we would have better ways of addressing, our differences. And it's unfortunate when families and friends and different things like that fall apart because of politics.
You're absolutely right, Greg. And
It's like, who is that? Who's the Allen Iverson practice? It's politics.
Politics, you're right.
These people could care less about us in real life. Just politics. Why are we getting caught up on politics?
That's where we're at right now. And you know what? Let me make sure I clarify something that I said earlier when I say you gotta be willing to fight. No, I mean fight for what you believe in as it relates to your quality of life.
Absolutely.
Greg, I don't know how we got here, man, but it's where we at, man.
Now listen, I'm gonna say it again. If me and my son don't never again speaking like me, he decided he was gonna run for something, you can't say nothing to him about me. Or you can't say nothing about him to me. I don't know if it goes the other way, but that's just how it came up.
Well, you know that old saying. What's that old saying about blood?
Yeah, blood is thicker than water.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
But you know what? You can't make no bricks with blood. Yeah, you gotta. Hey.
Great, man. I gotta kind of circle back, and I know we're running. Hey, man, for Senator Bracy and his wife to come on and to have the conversation that we had, part of it was him and his wife being personable about what they're doing, because in public office, public eye, Greg, it's something else.
Yeah, just a campaign in and of itself. But you know what? I apologize because you were mentioning and you're talking about how it's good for the African American community to see strong Black families and bonds. And I was like, who else was I thinking of? The Baines.
Yes. State
Attorney Bain and Dr. Bain. And when I sat down with them, we had the same conversation. It's refreshing in our community to see these relationships. I think that our young people need to see these relationships. And he talked a little bit about the news media, and I fought it because I don't want him to get tangled up in when I talk about the garbage newspaper, the Orlando Sentinel, or garbage news channel number 6 and number 9. It's one of them two I don't like, and it might be both of them I don't like. But they do an outstanding job of vilifying African American males. They do a great job, and I think that it's sad that they do that.
You're right, and you know what? I'm glad that you brought up the Baines. We just had the Bracys. And man, it can't leave
We
out.
got the Loves and the Jacksons.
And Love and the Jacksons. Hey, and I don't want to leave out.
Pintos.
And I don't want to leave out the Gelzines.
And the Gelzines. Man.
But here's something, man, that I think I haven't, and I'm gonna be critical about this. Man, it is so quiet. You have women that are responding to the level of criticism that is taking place with Senator Bracy. When you look at Baines, when you look at the work that Glenn Gelzine has done, but I don't see a level of men that are stepping up saying that's not right.
They don't have to, man, because we're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it, and you're absolutely right. It's abhorrent. It's sad that we as African American men feel that we cannot stand up for each other. Now we can stand up for the Black women, we can stand up for the white women, we can stand up but we can't stand up for each other. That's absolutely ridiculous. But I tell you what, State Attorney Bain, Senator Bracy. Brother Gelzine, you name anybody else.
Supervisory election.
Yeah.
The first.
Yeah, Mayor Dimmons, you name any of them, we have your back. We're not going to sit there and let anybody talk about anybody. I mean, whether you're a school teacher, whether you pumping gas, I don't care what it is. We're not going to let people denigrate our African American males anymore.
I love the way you close that, Greg, to let folk know that we have their back.
Oh, we forgot about the polites.
Oh.
Forgot about the polites.
And the polites. Hey, brother, we have your back, but Brother Jackson, with that being said, hey, man, I'm going to invite our audience to tune in next week for Let's Talk
Same
Nation.
bat time.
Same bat time, same bat
bat
place. But my brother, you do not have to go home.
But you got to get out of here.
We'll see you next week on Let's Talk Nation.